the state of Maryland, the birthplace of America's national anthem and the central state of the Mid-Atlantic, where the Mason-Dixon line divides the northern and southern states. Maryland is often called Little America because it's one of the few states that contains all the geographical diversities found throughout the country in just a 10,000 square mile radius. From the Chesapeake Bay to its beaches by the Atlantic Ocean, Maryland is a treasure to explore. Hi, I'm Jose, and I'm on tour exploring the state of Maryland, known as the Old Line State. On this tour, we'll visit the capital city of Annapolis, the beautiful maritime city that is sometimes referred to as the Athens of America. Annapolis borders the Chesapeake Bay and contains a colonial charm to its streets. From its association to the United States Navy to being recognized as one of the sailing capitals of the world, Annapolis is such a scenic town filled with some of America's most fascinating history. So let's go on tour and explore the state of Maryland. Welcome to the city of Annapolis, the state capital of Maryland. Annapolis is sometimes referred to as the sailing capital of America. World War II ushered in a nautical popularity to the town, with Annapolis becoming a major builder of naval vessels to the Allied powers. The Annapolis Yacht Yard was awarded the contract to build vessels where hundreds of boat manufacturers settled in the city. After World War II, the new settlers began building boats for leisure and what became the early signs of Annapolis maritime industry. This city is occupied by more than 3,000 boats, with fall bringing tens of thousands of visitors to the United States Power Boat Show and the United States Sailboat Show, two of the largest in the country. And you'll see ships from all over the world, from small boats to super yachts. Annapolis is also home to the United States Naval Academy, one of the most elite schools in the country. The location was chosen by George Bancroft, former Secretary of the United States Navy. The Academy was founded in 1845, in which George Bancroft felt like Annapolis was the ideal location, free from the distractions found in major metropolitan cities and close to major waterways. The city of Annapolis, the capital of Maryland, and home to more than 40,000 residents. During the 1700s, the quaint maritime city was often called the Athens of America, serving the state as a prominent seaport with a thriving social environment and a cultural community, birthing a tradition that has remained as part of the city. On this summer morning, the monthly Arts Festival takes place through the streets of Annapolis, and the sidewalks fill with vendors and shoppers eager to discover the wonderful artwork created by the local artisans. The charming streets of Annapolis become a vibrant touristic escape with colorful buildings that add to the artistic element of the festival, as we witness the shoppers supporting their local businesses. While walking through the festival, I begin to admire all the wonderful artwork. The festival makes the visit to the city the perfect place to discover Maryland. The festival takes place between May through November, on the first Sunday of every month, becoming part of the many things to do in this city, dating back to the first festival in 2001. As we walk through the art and historic district, we come across the beautiful and hip main street of Annapolis, where the amazing harbor is seen on the other end, and the busy colonial streets become the definition of the city. A street filled with 4 centuries of architectural input. But it also contains history, like the Treaty of Paris, which was the treaty that ended the War of the American Revolution. Walking through its narrow alleys, we can see the fascinating state capitol building, acting as the backdrop to this vigorous main street, which makes me curious to explore some of the local shops within the city. Delicious. This vintage street with a wonderful brick layout is Maryland Avenue, one of the oldest commercial streets in all of Maryland and possibly America. Annapolis contains so much great food. Stopping by this local crepe shop, we see the splendid snack take form as our chef mixes a blend of mozzarella cheese and vegetables. A beautiful presentation for an on-the-go snack that simply excites my taste buds. Over 4 million tourists visit Annapolis annually and indulge in its world-renowned cuisine, with blue crabs being the specialty dish, a food lover's paradise. Dating back to more than 200 years of tradition as depicted within its artful streets. And look how beautiful this mural is. It kind of tells the story of the city. The Chesapeake Bay is an important part of Maryland's food industry, where oysters and crabs become a favorite of the seaport, and most of the local shops offer some kind of seasonal crab as a delicacy, bringing busy crowds to these wonderful eateries. Walking along the busy main street, where tourists and locals are going in and out of shops, I become observant to the cleanliness and beautiful architecture of the city, often described as a museum without walls. Annapolis has a distinct style that sets it apart from other capitals. And since we're still trying the best of the city's cuisine, I stopped by one of the city's oldest restaurants to try out the Annapolis cheesesteak, a tasty competitor to Philadelphia's iconic food. That was fantastic. The Athens of America. The city of Annapolis broke the popular grid design found throughout Philadelphia and New York City, and presented a city worthy of a queen, in honor of the British Queen Anne, whose influence passed on to the Maryland state flag and the beautiful State House, which has become the oldest operating state house in all of America. Debuting in 1797, the State House is also the only institution to serve as both state and country capital. Annapolis is the capital city of the state of Maryland and also played the role of America's capital in 1783, where the Treaty of Paris was ratified, giving the 13 colonies their independence from Great Britain. This marker tells a fascinating history of the Annapolis State House, where George Washington resigned his military commission to what was known as the Confederation Congress. And the local tour guides dress in colonial attire to bring that atmospheric feel of the early days of America. The decorative monuments that surround the State House take us through the narrative of Maryland's contributions to the Union, like the bell for USS Maryland, or simply known as Old Mary, a battleship who was docked at Pearl Harbor at the time of its attack, and served during many of the Pacific battles, including the historic Battle of Midway, where the U.S. fought Imperial Japan in what is called the most decisive blow in the history of naval warfare. Before the construction of Washington, D.C., the Annapolis State House was the front-runner to become the nation's capital, and with rightful acclamation, after ratifying the Treaty of Paris and formally ending the American Revolutionary War. So let's stroll through the gardens and tour the grounds of the State House to discover the influential leaders of Maryland.
Oh, now I can see his name. Is this Nick? This is like about...
At the State House Square is a memorial of an iconic leader from America's history, Thurgood Marshall, where visitors stop by and pay their respects. Surrounding Marshall are memorials to some of his groundbreaking work, like Brown versus the Board of Education and Murray versus Pearson, two civil rights cases calling out the education system for the discrimination and segregation of people based on color and race. Thurgood Marshall was the first African American justice appointed to the Supreme Court, with a tremendous record of winning 29 out of 32 civil rights cases to end segregation in public schools. Following the wonderful trails through Maryland's government buildings, we admire the beautiful state insignia and come across a statue of Louis Goldstein, the longest-serving comptroller of Treasury in Maryland. Goldstein served for an astounding 40 years, which further added to his 60 years of public office. Across the Treasury building is the Maryland Fire Rescue Memorial, a dedication to the Maryland heroes who gave their lives in the line of duty. This tragic memorial is surrounded by flowers and shrubs with a brick, mortar, and bronze design, serving the citizens as a reminder of the courage from the servicemen and women who protect the people of Maryland. The State House dome can be visible from different parts of the city, almost creating its own identity in the narrative to Annapolis, the first peacetime capital to America, containing the largest wooden dome in the United States. It's a stunning display showcasing a beautiful simplicity meeting the complexity of brick, a metaphor to the history of the state. Let's head to the outskirts of the city for a quick stop at the Annapolis Town Center. Beginning with coffee, we refuel our caffeine to give our adventure an energy boost. Local coffee shops can be found on every other corner of the city. The Annapolis Town Center contains high-rises, becoming the hub of the city's entertainment. It's filled with fine dining and big box brands that coexist with residential and office space. And these aerial bridges create a walking path between the buildings. At the center, there's no shortage of shopping, with many unique retail stores lining up the sidewalks. Outdoor seating is found between the streets to stop and take a break while exploring the shops. While we're in the area, the aroma of the restaurants calls by name.
And of course my adventure is going to include pizza. It's my favorite food. As I tour from state to state, I always stop by a pizzeria to get some of this delicious cuisine.
Arriving at Quiet State Park, photographers are busy taking photos of weddings, Sweet 16 celebrations, and traditional Mexican quinceañera, a festival with roots in both Spain and Mexico
and now widely celebrated throughout Latin American countries, where the transition from childhood to young womanhood brings a new era for a young lady and emphasizes the importance of family and society.
The United States Naval Academy, the second oldest academy of the 5 service academies of America. This facility has been in operation since 1845.
Welcome to the fascinating United States Naval Academy, a 338-acre establishment by the Severn River, which flows into the Chesapeake Bay. As we walk inside Bancroft Hall, we're greeted by the marvelous architecture, designed in a Beaux Arts style, stemming from the French neoclassicism of the late 1800s, but blending with the Renaissance and Baroque elements. The hall contains the largest continuous set of dormitories in America, housing more than 4,000 midshipmen to prepare them for the Navy or the Marines.
Within our travels, we always come across military memorials, honoring the many who gave their lives for our freedom.
Inside Memorial Hall, the United States flag hangs on display, while the walls honor the alumni lost in combat, and the ceilings contains frescoes of the Navy's history. The words, "Don't give up the ship," are written on the center of the hall, a call to keep going and never give up. The Navy captain, James Lawrence, shouted this quote to his crew during the War of 1812, while in command of USS Chesapeake and grappling with a fatal injury. The Navy's astonishing history has been written all over the world, including the Second Great War, where the US Navy captured U-Boat 505 from the Germans, the first captured Navy vessel since the War of 1812. And this stunning memorial, with faces coming out of the waters, is a centennial dedication to the submarine force, the brave who served beneath the seas. The first traces of a United States submarine dates back to the American Revolution, going by the name of Turtle. The submarine was sent to break the British blockade at the Boston Harbor, an astonishing statue to pay respect. Inside Ricketts Hall, we're greeted by the USS Maryland. Spacesuits honor the many astronauts who've attended the Academy. A total of 54 astronauts have graduated from this institution, more than any other undergraduate facility in America.
This facility is simply astonishing.
This is the home of the Navy Midshipmen, the official athletic teams that represent the Academy, and a stunning facility built for these athletes. As the school sessions begin, families tour the grounds, dropping off their loved ones, walking around the neighborhoods within the gates of the academy. From the skies, we see the giant footprint of the Naval Academy and the dome of its beautiful chapel, a place of worship for Protestant and Catholic services dating back to more than 100 years. Inside the chapel, we get the traditional Christian decor with stained glass windows. But the secret that lies beneath becomes a focal point to the chapel, the crypt of John Paul Jones, a marble sarcophagus emerging as the resting place of this legend. John Paul Jones was the first iconic naval commander, known as the father of the American Navy. As we further explore the academy, we reach the museum, which honors the age of sail, beautiful vessels that usher in the most prosperous era of naval voyage. And this display showcases a breathtaking model of USS Pennsylvania, the largest sailing ship ever built in the United States. This amazing vessel only had a single trip from the Delaware Bay through Chesapeake Bay and docking at the Norfolk Navy Yard. It was destroyed during the Civil War to spare it from falling into the hands of Confederate soldiers. In this museum, we have a sculpture of one of the most famous images that came from World War II, the raising of the American flag on Iwo Jima, an image of hope and victory, eventually becoming the reference to the Marine Corps Memorial in Arlington, Virginia. I'm so fascinated by this. It's one of those things where there's so much to see, I don't even know where to start. It's just so much to take in.
This is the Annapolis City Dock, the heart of this historic capital city, where it connects to the Chesapeake Bay. The dock is a bustling hub of the city where merchants have maintained traditions of trade for over 300 years.
Blast this ship's whistle. It is extremely loud. It can be very startling. I used to just
When in Annapolis, you must take a cruise across the Severn River and into the Chesapeake Bay, one of the top tourist excursions in America's sailing capital. The Annapolis harbor is as busy as a city, with water taxis and boat tours rushing up and down the waters.
Bon voyage.
During the colonial period, sailing ships.
From this viewpoint, we see the yachts racing through the river as the love for sailing propels these nautical adventures, with passengers taking in the beautiful scenery surrounding our voyage. The Chesapeake Bay is the largest estuary in the United States, with more than 150 rivers and streams that flow into the bay, becoming an economic driving force to the states of Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, and several others along the East Coast. And perching through the window, I admire the beauty along the bay, while studying its captivating statistics. A 200-mile behemoth of a body of water. The Chesapeake Bay holds 15 trillion gallons of water, which produces 500 million pounds of seafood harvest each year. And its 65,000 square mile watershed has a connection to 6 different states. Passengers along the boat hold on to the rails, while seeing all the movement surrounding our vessel, as this round trip showcases all the exciting happenings throughout Annapolis. The Severn River is a body of water that flows for 10 miles from Severn, Maryland, to the draining point at the Chesapeake Bay. As I walk towards the front of the ship, I'm surrounded by some of the best views of vessels traveling ahead. This ship has an excellent vantage point no matter where you stand. And visitors happily engage with the ship's crew as our younger explorers get stickers and other memorabilia.
It's such an amazing view. Fascinating.
It's time to follow that speedboat and turn around in this grand excursion, heading back to the Severn River and the Annapolis City Dock. While gazing at the spectacular wind sails of this stunning ship. And in the waters, yacht owners still take the time to show off. An excursion definitely worth the price of admission.
This is probably the best way to get a real feel for Annapolis. You get amazing views of the city and a fantastic excursion into the Chesapeake Bay.
Want to tell the captain, you want the point on the bow to be in between these two pilings and lined up with right here. So you can just look at the captain and say like this, you can say 2 feet, and then you can do this, you can tell them to get left. We really want that bow.
If you're on the dock, then you have to stop by Eagle Alley, a narrow waterway that flows into the Annapolis harbor, where yacht owners show off their beautiful ships to the passing crowds.
Back in the Annapolis City Dock, we entered the main attraction that gives the city the title of sailing capital of America. And on this narrow waterway, we see the beautiful yachts cruise by, with many already docked at a place called Eagle Alley, the showroom to the city's maritime attractions. The moniker of America's sailing capital stems from its rise in shipbuilding during the 18th century, where American founding father William Packer began building luxurious estates to lure more visitors to the city. The city blossomed with consumer goods and took a giant step towards the industry of shipbuilding. But one of the earliest trades in Annapolis was of enslaved people, where 18,000 laborers of African, Asian, and European descent entered Annapolis, eventually being granted their freedom, as Maryland became the first colony to outlaw the import of slaves and indentured labor. Annapolis is a city broken out by its geography, from north to south, east to west, and from above, we can see some of this breakout. But back at the city dock, the evening skies begin to take over, and golden hour provides a shimmering reflection to the waters in Eagle Alley. So let's get ready to experience the Annapolis nightlife. Where even the animals are excited to explore the city. And our ship captain begins to dock the boats as we go back to where we started, at the end of the city dock in Susan Campbell Park. what better way to spend the evening in America's sailing capital than under the stars and the marina as a backdrop? A romantic melody along the moonlit waterfront, where the gentle breeze carries whispers of love, and the distant sound of waves creates an ambience that serenades the city. Annapolis is a city that's bound to take your breath away, containing endless varieties of cuisine, entertainment, and history, wrapping up in one of America's most unique packages, a classical city that lives up to its numerous nicknames and becomes a pillar to the foundation of the free state. As the evening winds down and our yachts begin to return to their stations, the melody slows down for our dancers, and I head back to Main Street. The aura of the Capitol Dome stands out across the city, blending the vibrancy of the golden skies, resembling the inspiring flag of Maryland. And the voices get carried away with the winds of the nightlife to the wondrous streams that lead to the Chesapeake Bay. The Annapolis Nightlife, where the lights of the city brighten up the docks, and the yachts navigate at full speed back to the downtown. The city comes alive, where the tourists flock to the streets and restaurants, and the eateries become a lively place to hang out. Annapolis has one of the most enchanting sceneries across the state, where the weekends bring active bars and live bands to further captivate tourism. A city full of charm that will keep bringing you back for more.
The city of Annapolis is an amazing experience and showcases the strong maritime history of Maryland. It's a city that certainly challenges the title of sailing capital of the world, where boats and ship docks are found in every corner of the capital. Its important role in developing America give it a special place within the Mid-Atlantic, the perfect entry point to explore the nautical cities of America and discover the wonderful state of Maryland. I'm Jose, and this is the State of Annapolis. If you like what you see today, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and share. If you want to see more in the state of Maryland, please stay tuned for the following video. Until next time.